For I hath spent too much wage on many plastic discs, in wheeling flickering images on thy rectangled screen. A dateless bargain to engrossing death. Now that I've only got a few minutes left, I spent way too much money on Blu-rays this month. Let's talk about them. What's up, everyone? Red Eye Reviews here with episode 2 of Physical Therapy, a new series in which I show off the 4Ks and the Blu-rays that I buy during the month and tell you interesting things about them, should you buy them, etc. And thankfully this month I've got a few less than last month, which is fine because, believe me, I need to save some money. So first up we have a 90s gem, William Shakespeare and Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. Now this is a gem of 90s cinema, to say the least. And while it's not one of the top movies I think of when I think of the 90s, it's definitely in there on the list somewhere. Now, I hadn't seen this in years, probably since around the time it came out, so that's why I was a little slow to picking it up. Recently, I've been going through and getting a lot of Fox titles because Disney purchased them and you never know what's going on with them. So I bought this finally after so many years just to be safe and have it in the collection. So I'm glad I did. But yeah, I don't know what I can really say about this because it's been so long since I've seen it. But I do remember it having a bombastic soundtrack, a very lively color palette, exciting visuals. They changed swords to guns. They modernized lots of things. Can I say guns on YouTube?
Stop him!
So yeah, definitely worth picking up. At least my memory from 25 years ago says so. So next up we have a 4K upgrade and one of my favorite Guillermo del Toro films, and that is Pacific Rim on 4K. So recently I did a Del Toro marathon where I watched all of his films, including Pacific Rim, and so I popped it in on Blu-ray and thought to myself, wow, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but it's just such fun. There's so much to watch, so much to take in. There's some interesting character work going on. Charlie Day and Ron Perlman shine in these roles that they're in, and I don't know, I just can't say enough good things about Pacific Rim, so much that when I saw this on the shelf for only $10 used at Rasputin's, I had to pick it up. What's Rasputin's, you ask? Well, Rasputin is a local Bay Area owned and operated used movie and record store. And look them up if you're unfamiliar with them, but they have a lot of great deals, and this is where I pick up a lot of my hauls. And man, seeing this for $10 on 4K, it was a no-brainer. I had to pick it up. So yeah, Pacific Rim, check it out. And next up, we have another 4K upgrade from something I owned on Blu-ray, and it's another film from another visionary director, Neil Blomkamp, and that is Elysium. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt Damon, Elysium. Ugh, what a snoozer. No. Well, I gotta tell you otherwise. This is one of my favorite cyberpunk films, and I know you're gonna disagree with me on that. If you disagree with me, tell me in the comments, please, because I love this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not Blomkamp's best. I still think that's District 9, but I think Elysium is still a very valiant effort. What happens when the rich go and live away from the rest of the population in a space station above the Earth, while everyone on Earth remains poor and with no access to healthcare or anything else that the people up in the sphere in the sky have access to? Yeah, it's a little heavy-handed on the message, but with the technology and the themes and some of the set pieces of this film, it's definitely worth your time. Despite what anyone's going to say, I personally love it a lot. Yeah, again, I know it's Matt Damon, but yeah, he might have been a little bit miscast, but at the same time, I still really enjoy this one. And I don't know, it's worth picking up if you can get it cheap. Next up, we have another easy 4K upgrade for me, and that is Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread. Now, the reason I got this was because it was going in and out of sale for about $13 on Amazon I want to say a few weeks ago. No, it was about a month ago. Near the beginning of the month, this went on sale a bunch, and basically it was in and out of stock. And I had just recently been on the set for P.T. Anderson's new film, codenamed BC. They were filming in Sacramento for a couple of days, and I was able to check out some of the filming. I even spotted P.T. Anderson in the flesh, 10 feet away. Wow, what an experience, a great experience to say the least. But anyway, I digress. Basically, it got me thinking, we don't have a lot of PTA films on 4K. Boogie Nights desperately needs to be on 4K. Hard 8, Sydney desperately needs to be on 4K, along with There Will Be Blood. Basically, all his films need to be on 4K, and this is one of the few, and in fact, I think it's the only one, to be honest. But basically, I said, let's get a jump on this. Let's upgrade it. It's worth it. It's cheap. Let's do it. So, yeah, Phantom Thread is Daniel Day-Lewis's last performance, and I mean, time will tell on that one, but it's his last performance, and he basically is a fashion designer in England, and if my memory serves me right, he basically falls in love with a woman, and the rest of the film is about their relationship. And yeah, it's a bit of a slow burn, but you know, it's pretty fucked up if you really, really look and listen to some of the things that's going on between the two. And man, it's worth a watch. It's not thrilling or exciting in any way. It's mostly a character piece, but it's a damn good character piece. So yeah, anything by PTA I love. So yeah, Phantom Thread, worth the upgrade. So next up is something I could easily talk about for hours and hours and hours on end, and I might as well just cut to the chase. That's the 4K of David Lynch's Dune, 1984. Now, Dune has an interesting history with me. I remember being a child in the 80s. I was 4 or 5 years old maybe, and I was playing in the backyard with my Return of the Jedi shirt on, and I come across a kid in the other yard, separated between a fence, and he's wearing a Dune shirt. And I said, Dune? What's Dune? And we got to talking, and then eventually evolved into an argument, which would be my very first nerd argument, where he would defend Dune, and I was defending Return of the Jedi. And a funny connection there too, because David Lynch almost directed Return of the Jedi, so, you know, there you go.
Bullshit. That's how I feel. Total fucking bullshit.
But basically, I had my first nerd argument with a child across the fence from me over what was the better film, Dune or Return of the Jedi. Now, time would tell, and Return of the Jedi still holds a great place in my heart, but I don't think that kid was wrong about Dune. I wish I could find him and tell him, you know what? You were right. Because it took me almost 40 years to finally see David Lynch's Dune from start to finish. And the only reason I saw it was because I figured I'd better brush up on the lore before I saw Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2. So I watched this, Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2, boom, boom, boom. And now I'm a pretty big Dune fan. I am now going to seek out the book and see if I can try and make it through that book. We'll see. So part of the thing with Denis Villeneuve's Dune is when I was watching the first part, I'm thinking of all the actors from this. So because this is, you know, David Lynch's version is basically the Cliff Notes version of the first book, I kind of use that as my frame of reference for Denis Villeneuve's films. As an adult, I really enjoy this film. I still enjoy Return of the Jedi a whole hell of a lot because that's part of my childhood, but Dune to me seems like a more adult sci-fi film, and it was something I desperately needed right now because we're in such a drought of good story and good sci-fi films and everything in entertainment right now that Dune was very easy for me to latch onto. And as complicated as it may seem at first glance, it's really not. And I implore you, if you have any interest in it, do yourself a favor and check it out. Start with David Lynch's Dune. Maybe read the book. I still need to read the book, but start with David Lynch's Dune. Yeah, it's a little weird, and then check out Denis Villeneuve's films. I think both of those are very well done as well. And you'll definitely see those on a future episode of Physical Therapy, because I'll be definitely getting the double pack 4K when that comes out. I think it's May or June, but whatever, day one for me, baby. To talk about this release, Arrow did a very fantastic job on the image and the sound quality in this one, which is kind of funny because I really enjoy the Spice Diver cut that's on YouTube and on the internet. It's basically a fan edit, and it puts in a lot of deleted scenes. It changes a few things a little bit. I really enjoyed that cut, but I also have a little bit of a soft spot for David Lynch's original cut of Dune. And I also love how nice these Arrow video releases smell. So next up, we have a cult classic, a favorite, Army of Darkness on 4K from Shout Factory. Now, I got this release for only $5. $5, you say? How'd you do that? Well, I traded in some Blu-rays that I wasn't needing anymore. Some of them I upgraded to 4K, and they've been in this video so far, but I traded them into Amoeba. And Amoeba gave me $20 store credit. With the price of this, brought it down to about $5. So because I'd already owned this on Blu-ray, $5 was a good price, even though I was spending the credit. The thing about this release is you're really only upgrading to 4K the theatrical cut and not the extended cuts. They're still in 1080p, which sucks. That's a bummer, but honestly, I was raised and grew up on the theatrical cut, so having that upgraded to 4K, worth the $5 to me. It was worth a little bit more, but I'm sure this is also not the last time I'm going to be purchasing Army of Darkness on physical media, because the Evil Dead films historically have a tendency of being re-released and re-released and re-released to death. So for $5, $10, $20, yeah, I'd say definitely pick up the 4K of Army of Darkness. It looks and sounds great. Again, it's just that theatrical cut, but definitely worth it in my mind. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's part of the trilogy. You can't go wrong without it. And I already have the other films in 4K. Why not keep them all in 4K? So yeah, Army of Darkness, definitely worth checking out. Next up, I'm going to go a little bit lighthearted with the next pick, and that is the Hudsucker Proxy. Now, the Hudsucker Proxy is a film directed by the Coen brothers from the early 90s, starring Tim Robbins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Paul Newman. Now, Tim Robbins isn't your average everyday Joe, and he starts working for this company at the ground level in the mailroom, and somehow he garners the attention of the CEOs, the bigwigs at the top, and they feel by putting him in their CEO role that the stock for the company will tank, and thus making them a bunch of money. There's of course varying results, things happen, and I won't get much more into them, but this film is great. It's very old-timey, it's set in the past, it's definitely got that Howard Hawks, Preston Sturges kind of feel to it, and it's really a lighthearted film. It's for everybody, you know, it's for parents, it's for grandparents, it's for teenagers, even kids.
You know, for kids.
But if you're looking for just a good comedy from the Coen brothers with some dramatic elements into it, check out Hudsucker Proxy. Definitely worth your time. I picked it up from Rasputin Records when my friend noticed that it was sitting on a shelf and it was only $3.95. I turned and was like, oh, $3.95? Worth it. This had been on my list for a little while because it was in the $20 to $25 range, and I kind of forgotten all about it until that day recently. So really glad to pick this up for under $20, under $10 even, but definitely worth it. We're almost done. We've got a couple more to go and we're there. And these last two are pretty good, let me tell you. So next up we have something from director Alex Garland. Now, Alex Garland's got a film coming out in a few months called Civil War, and I'm sure it's bound to divide America even more than we're already divided. But before you go and see that, definitely check out one of his other films, which I think is his best film, and that is Ex Machina. Now, Ex Machina is about a rich CEO tech guy played by Oscar Isaac who runs a contest which Domhnall Gleeson wins, in which he gets to go to Oscar Isaac's compound for like the weekend and basically see his newest projects, see what he's working on. And what he's working on is an artificial intelligence human played by Alicia Vikander, who you might remember from the Tomb Raider reboot, or you might not. But anyway, all three leads in this film are great. They're fantastic and marvelous. Oscar Isaac is actually probably the standout. He's a little eccentric, and that's what makes his character really work. But Ex Machina is very much grounded in reality with those sci-fi elements. And honestly, it's one of the best sci-fi films I've seen in the last 10 years. And it's definitely, like I said, Alex Garland's finest film. He's done some other stuff like Men and Annihilation with some varying results. But again, this is his best film. I picked this up because I picked this up. It was an upgrade from Blu-ray because I'd heard online that this was Lionsgate's best 4K presentations. Picture quality is fantastic. The movie's fantastic. What are you doing? Go pick it up now. Ex Machina. We are down to the line, people. Down to the line. Last film. Now I'm going to talk about a release that's been very controversial online from a filmmaker who's becoming controversial online, basically because of his restorations of his classic films. The filmmaker is Jim Cameron. The film, True Lies. Now, I am very glad to have True Lies in my collection, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a million times better than that early 2000s non-anamorphic DVD that we got from Fox. This film and The Abyss have never been properly released on 4K or Blu-ray until now, and now we have both, so I say check out both. As you probably have heard, True Lies is getting the majority of the flack online because of supposed AI sharpening and just the restoration work from Cameron. Okay, I will say, this film doesn't look perfect. It's not the best it could ever look, but it's damn close. The only problems I saw, honestly, were a few close-ups here and there. Other than that, in motion, the film looks great, and it's still a blast to enjoy. It's still one of my favorite Jim Cameron movies of all time, and I'm really glad to own it on 4K because we may never get this again on physical media. And until then, I'm happy with this release, and I'm glad to have chucked that old DVD in the mud. So, despite what you've heard online, in motion, this is like 98.9% great. So it's definitely worth picking up. The Abyss and Aliens, yeah, I didn't pick them up, but that's because I'm waiting for a box set on Aliens, which may or may not ever happen. And The Abyss, to be honest, it's kind of like Dune. I haven't seen that film since I was about 10 years old in the 90s when it came out. And the night I saw it, it came down with the flu. So not a great experience, but it's something I'm definitely willing to check out in the future, and something that may show its face on another physical therapy episode down the line. I may end up picking it up if I like it. So back to True Lies though, I can't stress enough. I'm so glad to get this. Yeah, it took a little while. A lot of people were waiting on this and their Abyss and their Aliens. You know, things happen. The companies didn't expect the turnout to be as good as it was, but man, the wait was worth it. For the most part, this looks great. The sound on this though, man, I forgot about this. The sound is Dolby Atmos and it sounds amazing. Crank it up. Man, you'll have a blast. This movie is an action comedy with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a CIA operative who is hiding that from his wife while trying to balance his family life and his work life, along with a terrorist threat that's going on. I won't say much more, but it's a nice blend of action comedy, great performances all around. Jamie Lee Curtis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bill Paxton, who I think really shines a lot in the film and has some of the best lines. Yeah, I'm gushing now, but I'm sorry. Seriously, this release is great, despite what you've heard. If you're a fan at all, pick it up. If you're really, really picky, like I said, get rid of it, chuck it. But you owe it to yourself to check it out for yourself. So there you have it, episode 2, Physical Therapy in the bag. Join me next month for episode 3, where the first film I'll be showcasing is a Martin Scorsese gangster epic in 4K that's been previously touted as a terrible transfer until recently. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and please comment below. Tell me, what do you think about True Lies? Is The Abyss something I should drop everything and go watch right now? What do you think about Pacific Rim? Let's talk about Dune. What do you think about Villeneuve's Dune? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, keep those eyes red, everybody. Bye.
Bye.